All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual set to compete on May 20th as part of Karate Combat 39. It goes down in Miami, Florida, and a very intriguing middleweight matchup. Certainly something that jumped off the page when I saw the poster going around as Raymond Daniels and Sasha Palatnikov get out there into the pit, and great getting to have Sasha back on the show. How are you doing there, man?
Yeah, good, man. Ready for the opportunity. Been in training camp since my last fight, getting D-Rod ready for his fight with Ian Gary on the 13th. So, yeah, business as usual. Excited for the opportunity and ready to, take advantage of it.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious on, I guess, the timelines that seem to come together relatively quickly. Like, I saw you had a post on April 28th saying your original opponent was out for May the 20th, and you were hoping to find a replacement ASAP, and then the bout was announced like a few days ago. Like, when did you initially get word that this would be your replacement opponent?
It was a week ago. Basically, yeah, I signed a contract, I would say, I think on the 20th, a month before the event, with a different opponent. We both signed, so that was locked in. I thought, that was cool, as I was going to be fighting on the 20th. And then, I got contacted by Karate Combat, said my opponent was pulling out of the fight. I reached out to him and was trying to find out what was going on, and you just had a list of excuses. It just seemed to me that he wasn't, I think he just saw that I was training with D-Rod, and, I'm just a higher level guy, whatever, and just, he got scared and pulled out. So I was bummed because it's not easy, once you already have somebody, on the contract sign, short notice, it's always hard to find someone to get. Same thing actually happened to me in my last fight. My original opponent pulled out, and then I got another guy on 10 days. So immediately the matchmaker just said, look, we still want you on the card. We're trying to find a replacement. So that made me feel good. And then I think 12 hours later, I got the Raymond Daniels offer, and I said, let's do it, like immediately. So again, I'm a fighter. I fight. I don't pick my fights. I'm a full-time fighter. This is what I do. So whenever I have an opportunity to perform, especially if I'm healthy, then I'm all for it. Doesn't matter who it is. I just want to be, challenging people and taking these challenges that are going to take me to the next level. And I think this is one of those coming right up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it would be frustrating to have an opponent drop out in close proximity or relative close proximity to the card, at least. But I feel like you probably, I guess, leveled up with this matchup, at least in terms of, like, cachet. Like, a guy like Raymond Daniels, obviously very skilled and very well known. So did it almost work out for the better in a certain sense?
Oh, absolutely. They upped my pay. They made sure to take care of me, knowing that I'm fighting someone like Raymond Daniels, which, to me, at the end of the day, I'm gonna take that fight every single time. I mean, this is a guy that I'm a fan of. This is a guy that I've watched throughout my career, and we were in the same corner in my debut in Karate Combat, so we were able to talk to each other and watch each other like hit pads and train. So there was a good likelihood that we may cross paths, even though he was in a lower weight class. But I know he had fought at middleweight. So, yeah, I mean, he had also issues himself getting an opponent, so it just kind of matched up for them. And of course, Karate Combat matchmakers loved the proposition of us two competing against one another. So, yeah, I guess it was a no-brainer. It worked out for everybody, and, yeah, here we are.
Yeah, and I was kind of noticing that alignment, too, like you were saying, like the fact that he, like, headlined the first Karate Combat show where you debuted on and stuff like that. And like you said, a guy you're very well aware of, like a ton of accolades and stuff like that, and one of the flashier kind of, stand-up styles and everything like that. So I guess you're probably really excited to get into this fight just in the sense of being able to, showcase the skills you've been working on with, guys like Daniel Rodriguez, as you mentioned. Like, this would seem like a perfect opponent to be able to, showcase all of that, and then just showing where you're at in terms of, I guess, responding to, what he's doing.
Absolutely, 100%. Like you said, he has all the accolades, he has the experience, he has the name, and I'm here to take all of that. So, this opportunity is, it's like I said, I can't explain it any better. It's perfect. Everything matched up. Seems to be, everything's lining up perfectly. It's not like I'm getting off the couch out of shape and I'm worried. I'm feeling great. I feel real good. Weight is great, even though we're actually fighting at a catch weight at 174 pounds, so I can come in at 175. So I do have to lose an extra 10, but never been a problem for me. I'm in shape. I'm actually walking around at like 190, not 187 right now. So I'm already at fight weight if I was to fight at 185. So to make 174, 175 is going to be no problem. So I'm just happy for the opportunity. I'm excited to be competing again 6 weeks after my last fight. My whole mantra is if I can be competing every 6 weeks, every month, and I'm healthy, then I'll continue to do that. That's all I want to be doing.
Yeah, and when you say especially after your last fight, is that just oriented to the fact that it was a loss and wanting to get back to the win column, or is there a specific facet of that last fight at Karate Combat 38 that sort of soured you and you want to get out there and maybe right the ship, for lack of a better way to phrase it?
I mean, I don't know if you watched the fight, but, I've just from the fans and the staff from Karate Combat, literally every single human being that watched the fight told me I won that fight. I believed I won that fight. I thought it was a really strange decision. This is the first time in my career that I've been on the end of something like that. I'm not a delusional guy. If I truly lost that fight, I would, I would say it. I would say that he fairly won that fight, but I really don't know what the judges were watching. I don't know how they were judging it. So again, it was a very, very weird situation that left a bitter taste in my mouth. And again, I wanted to come into Karate Combat, build a nice record so that I could be challenging, Ross Levine for the title. That was obviously the goal. Small little hiccup on the road, I suppose, out of our control. The judges, again, have nothing to do with Karate Combat. It's the state commission that, deals well with that. But like I said, I spoke to all the higher ups. I spoke to literally everyone, all the staff, all my friends. I had randoms, messaging me that I've never spoken to in my life, telling me I won that fight. So to be honest with you, the only two people in the situation that believe they won that fight was my opponent and his wife. So, I mean, again, I'm not gonna say and talk shit on anyone. It is what it is. We went out there, we both fought. I didn't fight my best. I felt very passive in there. It's not usually how I fight. Don't know what it was about that night, but again, I'm coming back with a vengeance. I'm ready to go hard. I'm ready to come and bring that violence, and just like my debut, coming in there and just trying to take off somebody's head and get my arm raised.
Yeah, I mean, the fact it's a pretty quick turnaround is cool too, just to, I guess, serve the master of kind of putting that, frustrating, obviously, like you said, the split decision, something that a lot of people were really quizzical about, like kind of like tilting their heads at and confused by. So I think the turnaround would probably suffice in that kind of regard to, like, get back to it and kind of, forget about that. And also, like you're saying, the promotion saw you as like the guy that won, and that's kind of what you're hearing. It seems like that booking of you versus Raymond Daniels too is almost reflective of that as well.
Agreed. I agree with that. I think everyone kind of sees, I asked for immediate rematch with my opponent. It was radio silence. I don't know if he's now retired. I don't know. But, that was the biggest win of his career. He said he was just so ecstatic. But I was like, look, man, let's run it back, and didn't hear anything from it. So, the fact that Karate Combat gives me a name like Raymond Daniels on an opportunity like this, like you said, it just shows that they know who really won that fight and who they want to push and hopefully, make a statement in the division and then, start challenging for the title soon.
And it seems like such a good fit for you, like this being the third fight in the pit now, and just, I mean, even on like a broader level, I really enjoy what Karate Combat does. Like, I feel like in combat sports, there has to be some unique kind of differentiating component for, a promotion to really get that traction and stand out. And they've got like such a cool, like futuristic, like production aesthetic. And I mean, it seems like a super crowd pleasing, like framework for the rules. And it seems like combatant pleasing as well. Like, it seems like just everyone's really enjoying it. Can you talk about just how, I guess, you've been enjoying your time so far with Karate Combat, with, like I said, this being the third fight in the pit now?
Yeah, man, like you said it exactly right. It's a completely different experience. I fought everything. I fought karate, I fought kickboxing, I fought Muay Thai, I fought boxing. I fought MMA, obviously, at the highest level. So I've had all the different, events, venues, setups that you can imagine all over the world. But Karate Combat is so unique. Like you said, like the futuristic backdrop, the production, the staff, like everybody is super cool, super positive. Don't get me wrong, like when I was in the UFC, I only had positive experience in the UFC. I loved it. Everyone was, but that's a company that's been around for a long, long time. But Karate Combat, they're relatively new on the block, but they have things running very smoothly. They're on top of it. They're all good people. Everyone that I've interacted with has been a positive. And yeah, I love fighting in the environment. I feel like I'm fighting in a like in a kumate or like in a nightclub. You literally like look to your left and your right, and you're eye level with fans, and it's a very cool atmosphere. I've never experienced it before until I made my debut, and having that experience in an MMA cage. You're in a cage. The cage kind of gives you that separation away from the fans, and plus you're usually above everyone. You're lifted. The cage is at a height, so you don't really see people. You see kind of shadows in the distance and all that. But this experience with Karate Combat is very personal. It's almost like it's like an intimate setting, and it's cool. Like maybe one day get you down there and spectate yourself, and you can feel the atmosphere that it brings. And yeah, it's a really cool show, and it literally is what my style is. It's what I started in. I started karate at the age of 5. I was competing all over Southeast Asia. I was a champion until I was 12. So it was like a full circle thing. Like when I first saw Karate Combat, I was like, I was in the UFC at the time when I first saw him, but I was like, man, I could see myself, fighting under that rule set. That's like exactly what that's what I'm best at. So yeah, after my release, and then after fighting 3 times, regionally, they reached out to me, and I was at a crossroads looking at fighting in KSW, looking at possibly fighting over in Russia. And then Karate Combat just came in, and I was like, man, this is the one. I could just, like, off the bat, I was already quite deep in negotiations with KSW, and then when Karate Combat came in, I was like, this is the one. And I really enjoy it. I like the rule set. I like there's no complaints. I've really enjoyed. The only complaint I would have had is the judges in my last fight, but otherwise everything has been awesome.
And I'm curious because I was checking out an interview you did more so like before your debut in Karate Combat with JHK, where you were saying, like, understandably so, like you couldn't really specifically prepare in a pit sort of framework. Have you tried to, I guess, this may be a weird question, but have you tried to almost curate some sort of pit kind of framework to get in some training in, or is that not really like a feasible thing to do, I guess?
Like to get work inside the pit?
Like just to like curate your own pit almost and stuff like that, and maybe prepare in that kind of way.
Yeah, not really. Like the pit, like the first time I experienced the pit obviously was in my first fight during the walkthroughs. And, to emulate that kind of thing, I train at a syndicate, it's the MMA gym. Yeah, that'd be a whole new construction effort there. I joked with John Wood and was like, yeah, man, when are you putting in the pit for me? But no, like the reality is like, my strength and conditioning coach with Primetime Performance 1, they literally saw how Karate Combat athletes compete, and they just changed my training system. I work a lot on being quick, speed, fast, strong. Like these are all things that, and not having to worry about wrestling, because wrestling is a big part of MMA, and it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of work, and I've been doing it for over 10 years. So the fact that I can kind of let my body rest from the wrestling, the grind of wrestling, and really like just focus on the things that I'm good at, like the things that I've done my whole life. So wrestling came later on in life. I was 23 when I really got into like grappling and wrestling, which is pretty late in life. But my striking pedigree has been there since I was 5, and that's where I'm most comfortable. So having that ability to just really focus in on this again and really refine my technique, refine my skill set has been awesome. Like I just enjoy it more. It's not that I didn't enjoy wrestling. I have nothing against wrestling. I love grappling, but it's always better to get to do the things that you're best at, and especially improve on the things that you're best at. So yeah, it's been really good. Like I said, I started with them in December on kind of a short notice, but from that time until now, I've gotten bigger, I've gotten stronger, faster, and I just feel good. Like I'm just excited to perform. I love performing in front of the fans and trying to excite people and do different things and show different techniques. So I don't think there's a better matchup in terms of just craziness, in terms of technique and wildness when it comes to myself and Raymond Daniels.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just the opportunity to also, represent for Hong Kong seems important. Like Karate Combat seems very receptive to that and everything like that. And I mean, I was seeing that thing a little while ago of UFC not letting you kind of use the Hong Kong flag, which I thought was a little ridiculous, but it seems like Karate Combat is very much open to that kind of stuff, so that would strike me as something that's important to you as well.
For sure. Yeah, that was like, I appreciate, like, as soon as we like started talking, they were immediately like, yeah, like, you're going to represent Hong Kong, like, there's going to be no issue with that, like, you're going to be our guy. And I was like, hell yeah, like, because I mean, my goal, like, even when I started doing this, like, when I started my first amateur fight, I was like, man, I want to be the first person to fly the Hong Kong flag in the UFC. Like, that's the goal. I want to be like that guy. So the fact that I couldn't do that, I was pretty bummed out, dude. I was gutted. I really like, what the fuck? Like, it just didn't make sense, and but yeah, no, and then Karate Combat being able to put the Hong Kong flag on the pants and, let me represent, I got my people back home and my fans, and they follow me. They whatever fight I'm in, whatever I'm getting into, they're right behind me, showing love and support. So yeah, I'm a Hong Kong kid, dude. Like, I've competed for Hong Kong from, everything that I've done, every sport. I competed in rugby, I competed in basketball, I competed in, combat sports. So Hong Kong is home, even though I haven't been back since COVID started. It's still home, and I'm happy to be the flag bearer wherever I go and wherever I compete. And yeah, I just want people to know back home that, like, you can do this. Like, if you really want it, you just got to keep going and stay consistent. Like, I was just a regular old kid in Hong Kong, just like literally pursuing my dreams. I was like, I can do this. Like, I genuinely think I can do this. So I just stayed persistent. I stayed motivated, self-motivated, even when I was told I couldn't do it. People were saying, like, oh, that's stupid. I have a computer science degree. I could literally sit on my ass on a computer 8 hours a day, make plenty of money, and not ever have to get punched or kicked by anyone, But that's not what makes me happy. That's not what I love to do. And competing and competition and fighting the best in the world is, especially in this short window or period of window in my life, is important to me. So I'm using this time to, fulfill my dreams, fulfill my passion, so that I can, like, ride off into the sunset, with as many accolades and as many belts as I can take, and just enjoy this period of my life.
Well, I love hearing that, man, and I love just, hearing that path of just, staying motivated and kind of unwavering in your pursuit. It's such a great story, and I guess just, like, talking about this matchup, like you were talking about wanting to test yourself against some great guys, I guess I was just kind of thinking about this fight. Like, obviously you were saying before, you're very much aware of Raymond Daniels, as, many people are, super talented, accomplished guy, but just how he is stylistically, I would think he'd be a bit of a difficult guy to game plan for in a lot of ways. Like, I feel like a lot of his highlights, he doesn't really telegraph a lot, and then we'll launch into some crazy, like, multi-rotation kick or something like that. Like, how do you go about game planning for a guy like that? Is it more about focusing on your individual refinement and kind of getting as much in that flow state as you can and adapting to whatever may happen, as opposed to maybe having, like, a specifically mapped out game plan? Or
my whole fight kind of mentality is, I don't like to game plan too much for my opponents. I watch them. Someone like Raymond, I'm very well versed in his style. I've watched every single one of his fights without even before this matchup. But I watched his last two fights in Karate Combat. He's, as with any fighter, you do a little bit of digging. You look at who they've fought, their record and such. And, like, obviously Raymond's biggest highlight knockout, what they're considering the biggest knockout, like, in MMA history, you know exactly which one I'm talking about. I mean, he fought a debut, a guy that has no fight experience, and he hasn't fought again ever since. So it was almost like they just gave him a lamb for the killing, and I'm not going to look past that, because, again, that knockout was incredible. I wish I could accomplish something like that in my career. But at the same time, I look at levels, I look at the people that he's fought, and back in 2015, he lost twice to Nikki Holtzkin, and Nikki's someone that I've trained with as a teenager in Holland, and is someone that I'm a big fan of, and actually back then was watching that fight live as a fan of both fighters. So I've watched Raymond for a long time, and not only that, just being able to see him compete against Agaev on that last card, and watching his fight with Mina, I definitely see some ways, some holes. I see some areas, some avenues that I can take advantage of, and I believe that I'm going to be able to take advantage of those come May 20. Guys usually that have that style that, very flashy, they need space. They need a lot of space to operate in. And I'm a very big pressure guy. I like to put a lot of pressure, and I like to turn it into a dogfight. And I feel like for this fight, if I turn it into that, it's going to make him uncomfortable. I feel like he doesn't like to be uncomfortable. He was very frustrated against Zagayev. When certain things don't go his way, he starts to kind of get in his head a little bit, I noticed. So I feel like giving him certain looks and certain kind of strategies in the fight, I think are going to work in my favor. I'm a switch stance fighter. I fight openly out of both stances, easily. It's not something that I have to worry about. And mind you, the last 2 fights that I fought in karate combat, I've really kind of put myself in a case. I wanted to come out and not show too much of what I'm able to do, because I know when it matters most, when I'm fighting against the best and the top guys, they're going to be looking at my tape, looking at things that they think they're going to expose or things that I'm going to come and bring. For the last 2 fights, I came out more of a boxing guy, more of a boxing style. I've been keeping my kicks in my pocket. But this is a fight where I'm going to start to open up a little bit more, show something that he hasn't seen before himself, the fans haven't seen yet. And I'm excited. This is, it wasn't my plan. Like, for this fight, my next fight was the same thing, just get back in the win column. But with this matchup in particular, this is kind of like a showcase for me. So now it's time to open up. Now it's time to show all the bells and whistles, and then make sure that, we keep Raymond guessing. He's got tons of experience. He's going to be able to adapt on the fly. He's going to see things. But we're going to play that chess game. I love chess. Chess is something that I've been playing my whole life. And this is going to be human chess with some of the best. So I'm excited. And again, I just can't wait to showcase everything I've been working on.
Yeah, and very excited to hear you talking about it in this kind of way, for sure. And we were talking about the judging in the last one a bit ago. I saw you had a tweet earlier in April where you're talking about how AI technology could be the way for combat sport judging and that humans are too inconsistent. Have you talked to Boss and some of the crew about maybe getting some AI involved in the judging for this one, perhaps?
Not yet, but I'm going to bring it up during fight week. Here's what I thought. I think this, and I've seen it all across the board in MMA. There's almost every week there's a decision that everyone's like, huh? We're not sure about. And in my opinion, as a fighter, I feel like whoever the judges are on that night should make a video, just like a screen. It doesn't even have to show them. It could just be an audio of that particular judge saying what he would or she would like to see in order to win the fight. So for MMA purposes, it's a little bit more, there's more variables in regards to okay, if you're someone I would like to see more takedowns. If you're taking some down and controlling them, that's worth more than someone who's winning and landing strikes. There's some judges who see it like that. But you want to know that. You want to know that as a fighter, because we're the ones who are putting everything on the line, our careers, our money's on the line. These guys get paid a couple $100. They have no fight experience. They have no accountability whatsoever on the decisions that they make. So in my opinion, they should have some form of accountability by saying, look, this is what I want to see. This is how I want to judge the fight, so that when we're sitting in the room, having our rules meeting, we can be like, okay, these are the 3 judges. This is what they want to see. So that, I think, is the best way, in my opinion. I don't know if that would ever happen. I'm going to suggest it, when I'm in Miami during fight week, and see what they say about it. But that's just what I think is fair, because, like I said, in my last fight, I landed more strikes and I put pressure on this dude the whole fight. He didn't want to engage. He was running away. Based on that alone, and the 2 judging criteria for karate combat are the same in MMA: active aggressiveness and significant strikes landed. So I just didn't see how he won the fight, and even if it was super close, how they didn't announce a sudden death 4th round. That's another cool thing with karate combat. If it's a very close fight, which some fights are, they'll give it a final sudden death 4th round. Whoever wins that round wins the fight. So I was just shocked. I was shocked by the decision, and again, I didn't know how they were judging the fight. My opponent was on his bicycle running away. He didn't want to engage. I've never fought anyone like this in my whole career. I've never met anyone who never wanted to engage. I've fought counter fighters all my career and trained with counter fighters all my career, but this dude was not engaging. He was leading with his head. He was just, fighting a weird fight, and somehow the judges saw it his way. So in the future, I think it would be really helpful for fighters to know exactly what the mindset of these judges are going in. I think that's just my personal opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people could agree with that. It doesn't seem like it would cost or it would hurt anyone's anyone's situation. I think it's just more of a, because look, we're fighting at the elite level, the highest level. I think it's just professional, you know, and hopefully something can happen with that, because in my opinion, just the inconsistencies that we see week in and week out are crazy. You know, that fight happened to me in Miami, and then a week later, my teammate Cynthia Calvillo fought was it Lupi Godinez in a close fight, but I had. And again, I'm not a delusional person. Just because she's my teammate, I'll genuinely tell you how I feel, and based on the judging and who I thought won the fight. And I thought Cynthia edged it and got the split decision, and they gave it the other way. So it's just another one of those things where you'd love to know how the judges see it. You know, you want to be getting hit more, you want to be getting takedowns more, you want pressure, you want counter. Like, we just want to see what these judges and how they're thinking, because we literally have no idea what they're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, very valid suggestions for sure. I mean, definitely something needs to be done, because like you said, it's almost like on a weekly basis there's some sort of problematic, controversial decision. So yeah, I mean, the rate of problems with that are just ridiculous for sure. But you've been really good with your time, Sasha. It's always fun getting to talk to you and get insights ahead of these different fights and stuff like that. But just in being mindful of your time and schedule, is there maybe any final parting thought you might want to add as we're kind of wrapping up here, man?
No, I just appreciate you reaching out. Always appreciate any kind of coverage, any kind of media love, and anything, you know, when it comes to karate combat as well. Putting more eyes on karate combat, more ears, and yeah, I appreciate that, man. Like, again, people that are listening, you know, fans, feel free to reach out, you know, on social media, Sasha Palatnikov MMA. You know, I think my name's similar on Twitter. You know, not many people got this name, so you'll find me. But yeah, no, you know, follow the journey. You know, following Dylan. Dylan's one of the best in the game too. You know, he's staying on top of everything, which is awesome. And I'm just excited for the future with karate combat, and I'm excited for May 20th.
Yeah, a lot to be excited about, man. And the very next chapter in that story that's unfurling is Karate Combat 39. And yeah, like I was saying before, when I saw the announcement with Raymond Daniels, definitely very much got fired up. And to that point, appreciate you making some time and giving such great insights ahead of such an intriguing fight. So looking forward to peeping that on May 20th. But until then, you have a good rest of your day there, man.
Appreciate it, Dylan. You as well. Have a great day. And yeah, I'll catch you on the other side.